They told me, "Mom, just wait in the mudroom this Christmas Eve." He didn't know I still held the title to the house, that their lease was conditional, that this home, which they thought was theirs, still bore my name in the county records. "Mom, just bring in the desserts later, okay? They'll put out cheese and crackers first. It'll be more casual this year." That was what Claire said to me. Voice sweet as candy canes, apron pressed white, heels clicking, perfectly coiffed hair like nothing ever bent or broke under weight. She said it in front of her friends, 3 of them, none of whom even glanced in my direction. Phones out, eyes glued to screens. I held my plate steady, heart thumping less from old age than from what I held back. My son Nathan, halfway between mild fury and resignation, set down his wine. "It's just one night, Mom. Don't turn this into something. Everyone's in the spirit. We're trying to keep this festive." So I did what I do best. I moved quietly. I carried my plate through the hallway, past the fireplace where stockings hung, past the tree with its glittering ornaments, and I slipped into the mudroom. Cold tile floor. The smell of damp coats and boots. A small heater buzzing low, just enough to pretend warmth was possible. My old golden retriever, Daisy, lay in a ragged towel. Tail gives a weak wag when I sit down. I kept my silence. Ate slowly, each bite of turkey dry, the stuffing heavy, the sweet potatoes overly sweet but still cold. I listened. Laughter from the living room, glasses of wine clinking, jokes about work, about decorating, about how Christmas is all about making memories. Memories, yes, but there's polished and curated. Daisy's head rests on my foot. Stillness spreads. I've been quiet a long time. Not because I couldn't speak, but because words carry weight. If you choose silence, people tell themselves stories. If you choose noise, they might drown it out. But memory holds them when everything else slips away. If you feel justice deserves celebration, smash that hype button. Let us keep stories like this alive, echoing far, far away. Your support helps us bring understanding and love to those who deserve it. Thank you so much. Subscribe to Grandma Told Truistory for more stories from quiet corners of broken tables. This is not just the story of a sidelined mother. This is about how I let them believe I had nothing left so they could show, openly, who they truly were. Claire and Nathan weren't always like this. Or maybe they always were and I refused to see. When Nathan lost his job 2 years ago, Claire was pregnant with Sophia. They had no backup plan, no cushion. I sold my vintage locket, Grandma Rose's, the one she gave me the night I got married. I sold it to cover 3 months' rent for them. I co-signed a small business loan when the bank shut the door. I put my name on the lease of this house as guarantor, so they could get security. I fed them, housed them, let them bring in baby furniture in my old guest room while I took the floor there until they got settled. And when Nathan found new work, when money came in, Claire started subtly rearranging the house. New curtains, sleek minimalist pieces. My quilt, the one I made after Rose died, too old-fashioned, too patchwork. My ceramic wind chimes, my reading lamps, my fossils from the Oregon coast, all clutter, she said. Then came the invitation. "This year I want to host Christmas Eve. Your kitchen is cast in shadow. It's time we show a clean, modern vibe." I agreed, because I always said yes. But what she really meant was, "It's your turn to disappear." She posted it online. Grateful for new beginnings, clean lines, and space to breathe. Never a single word about the woman who laid every floorboard they stood on, who paid insurance, plumbing, property tax when their checks bounced. They flooded the feed with their smile-lined family portraits, but my face was the blur at the edges of every shot. You see, entitlement doesn't creep in, it marches. It doesn't whisper, it bellows, expectant of applause. But I didn't clap. The night before Christmas Eve, Claire said, "Just stay in the mudroom. It's more comfortable, warmer. You'll thank me later." Nathan nodded. "Yeah, Mom. Make yourself cozy in there. We'll bring over your plate once things calm a bit." I walked to the mudroom, placed my plate down, Daisy at my side. The lights dimmed beyond the glass door. I watched through the frosted panes as they lit the fireplace, hung the garlands, set up the table just so. I let my eyes adjust to the cold glow of single bulbs in the overhead fixture. Blankets and pillows had been thrown on a bench. A radio played old carols. Daisy's breath soft. I listened for them through the walls. I heard Claire say, She won't even notice she wasn't invited into the room. Nobody will mind. Nathan responded, voice low but firm. It's easier this way. Less mess. Less drama. I held that silence like a shield. I held the deed. Not just emotional, not just sentimental, legal. Because while they styled photoshoots, I kept the paperwork. I made sure the foundation stayed mine. I was a teacher once, a public school teacher here in Eugene for 38 years. Standing in front of blackboards, guiding students who'd been told they didn't matter. Literature, history, poetry. I taught them they had a voice, that their story was theirs. I believed that with all my heart. And someday, I taught myself to believe I did too. You might wonder why I didn't fight that night. Why I didn't storm in, shout truth. Because some fights are better won with strategy, with memory, with paper and law. I love Nathan and Claire. I raised them. But love doesn't mean being invisible. They planned something else though. While I sat in that mudroom, silent, cold, they were already drafting something. Mom has been forgetting things, Claire would whisper to friends. She mixed up the presents, forgot to pick up groceries. Nathan in private calls. She's been confused since December. Let's just protect her. It's what we're doing for her own good. They expected me to slip, to reveal cracks, to become fragile. But they didn't know I had an estate plan drafted in 2019. They didn't know I had my savings safely transferred, had a power of attorney drafted, but not irrevocable until I signed when I was clear. They thought I was too soft, too old. They never counted the years I built in this house. The years I paid for nails, for pipes, for the roof when the storms came. That night, as I sat in the mudroom, I made a vow. Let them believe I am quiet. Let them believe I can be pushed aside. But underneath, I am planning. Memory is not soft. It sharpens, it cuts. And sometimes what people forget to fear is the quiet one, the one with documents, with resolve. They believe I won't do anything. They believe I don't remember, that I don't know. They will learn when the stars align and the paperwork arrives, that I still hold the title. That I could, if I chose, reshape what they thought was theirs. I didn't sleep that night. The mudroom was too cold, too quiet. But it wasn't the cold that kept me up. It was the way Claire's voice echoed. It's easier this way. Like I was a problem to be managed, not a person to be celebrated. The next morning, I made my tea as usual. Claire had reorganized the pantry again. None of my tins were where they used to be. My spice rack, once labeled neatly, now stuffed with glass jars without lids. My cup sat alone in the cabinet. Everything else gleamed white, modern, Instagram ready. I sipped my tea in silence, sitting at the edge of the mudroom bench. Daisy nestled against me. She was the only one who stayed. At 9 a.m., Claire called a quick family huddle in the living room. I wasn't invited. I heard them laughing, making lists, assigning roles. Someone joked about having staff this year. And the word sent a bitter chill down my spine. Nathan emerged, clipboard in hand. Hey Mom, if you wouldn't mind prepping the pies, Claire says she needs you out of the kitchen by 3. We're doing a photo shoot for the dessert table. I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I was watching. Recording. Not with a camera, not with a phone, but with memory. By mid-afternoon, Claire had changed into her second outfit of the day. Just something softer for the feed, she said to her friend on speaker. She looked at me while adjusting her necklace. Don't worry, and we'll call you in when it's time for your moment. My moment? I almost laughed. As if I were a guest in my own life. As if I needed an invitation to exist. I had watched this house morph, inch by inch, over the past year. Every decision made without asking. Every photo frame of Marcus quietly replaced by minimalist prints of pine trees and vague quotes. Less clutter, she said. More breathing room. They were erasing us. I thought about the first winter Marcus and I spent in this house. 1973. We had no heat for 2 weeks, so we slept in one room, wrapped in every quilt we owned. We read books aloud by candlelight and played cards until our fingers froze. This house wasn't just wood and drywall. It was love hammered into place. It was nights spent fixing pipes, patching roofs, laughing when the lights went out. Marcus always said, "This house is yours, Annie. No matter what happens." I never thought I'd have to prove it. The guests began arriving at 5. Cars pulled into the long driveway. Claire had hired a valet. A valet. In rural Oregon. Nathan walked around with a wireless mic clipped to his shirt. Claire managed the live stream from her phone, occasionally switching angles and muttering, "This is going to crush the real metrics." I watched from the mudroom, invisible again. My hands smelled of cinnamon and clove. My apron had flour dust across the chest. No one offered me a seat. No one said thank you. But I was watching. Listening. After dinner, I returned to the mudroom. Daisy curled up again on the blanket. The sounds of wine and merriment echoed from the other side of the door. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the folder. Inside, neatly organized, the deed, the trust papers, a notarized letter from my lawyer, a copy of the revocation clause they didn't know existed. I had set it all in motion the previous month. Spoke with Rebecca, a former student of mine, now a partner at a Portland law firm specializing in elder law and estate protection. I told her everything. The way they moved in, took over, the subtle ways they chipped away at my place here. She listened. Then she said, "And we can lock this house down. Irrevocable trust. You'll stay on the title, and no changes can be made without your written, witnessed approval. Even if they claim guardianship, even if they file power of attorney papers. You stay the foundation. No one moves you without consent." So we filed. The Whitmore Family Legacy Trust. Named not just for Marcus and me, but for the students I taught, for the neighbors who helped raise Nathan when I worked double shifts, for the women who dropped casseroles when Marcus passed and stayed late to wash dishes. And then the turning point came sooner than expected. 2 days before Christmas Eve, I heard Claire whispering on the phone again. "We've got to move now. She forgot the dry cleaning last week. Nathan's going to call the doctor. We'll have her evaluated. Early dementia maybe. Then we file. If we get guardianship before February, we can put the house on the market by spring." She wasn't even hiding it. That was the moment the quiet ended. I didn't confront her, not yet. The plan had to play out. You don't stop a train by jumping in front of it. You switch the tracks when no one's watching. My lawyer had sent notice to the county clerk, the assessor's office, the State Historical Society, because this house wasn't just a structure. It was a story. And stories, when preserved properly, can't be rewritten by people who only arrived for the ending. The trust had teeth. Strong ones. If they filed guardianship, the court would see the recent legal actions taken by a mentally competent grantor. If they tried to sell, the buyer would be notified that the deed was non-transferable without my consent. If they pushed too hard, they'd risk a countersuit. And I would have legal standing, not as a dependent, but as a founder. They thought I was fading, but I was only becoming sharper. That night, while Claire hosted her Holiday Eve giveaway livestream and Nathan poured mulled wine for strangers, I walked out into the cold December night. I looked up at the stars, felt the wind against my cheeks, and smiled for the first time in weeks. Not because I had won, but because I had finally stopped waiting to be invited. And I knew, when they opened the door to the notary the next morning, holding a document they didn't understand, everything would shift. They didn't expect it, not on Christmas morning. Not when the house smelled of pine and cloves, with carols whispering through the Bluetooth speakers, and Claire arranging her third tablescape for Instagram. The knock came sharp and official, not like a neighbor with cookies or a delivery driver. Nathan opened the door. A woman stood there, navy coat, clipboard in hand. "Good morning. My name is Leah Tran. I'm here on behalf of the Oregon Cultural Heritage Trust. Is Mrs. Anne Whitmore present?" Claire peeked from behind the kitchen island, a smear of frosting on her wrist. She's resting." "Why?" I stood in the hallway. "I'm Anne." Leah smiled, but it was the kind of smile that came with weight, not warmth. She stepped inside. "This home has officially been recognized as a protected historic residence under Chapter 5 of the Oregon Preservation Statute. Designation number or 226M. Effective immediately, any sale, alteration, or transfer of the property requires approval from the founder trustee and the Oregon Heritage Board." Claire's face drained of color. Nathan stiffened. A few guests murmured, one of them filming from their phone instinctively. Leah continued. "The documentation submitted includes a family war archive, 38 years of public education service, and a community legacy plan filed through Whitmore Legacy Trust. She handed me a framed certificate. The seal glimmered under the twinkle lights. This is now a registered legacy home. And as founder trustee Mrs. Whitmore, only you have authority over its future. Someone gasped. Not softly, but loud enough that it broke the moment in half. Claire stepped forward. No. Wait. This is our house. We've lived here for years. Leah didn't even blink. That may be. But occupancy does not override legal ownership or trust authority. Your residency is defined as provisional in the trust's bylaws. One of Claire's friends muttered. Wait, are we live right now? They were. A camera was still streaming from the mantle. 30,000 viewers. Claire's holiday hosting segment had just caught its own collapse in real time. Comments flooded the screen. Wait. She tried to erase her email and lost the house. Protect grandma at all costs. Imagine calling someone forgetful while trying to steal their house. Claire turned, eyes wild. You set this up, she hissed. This was a trap. No, I said gently. This was a reminder. That memory holds weight. That homes are not just furniture and walls. Nathan stayed silent, staring at the floor like it had betrayed him. Leah looked between us, then nodded politely. That concludes my visit. Congratulations, Mrs. Whitmore. She turned and left as quickly as she came, boots clicking on the hardwood they once mocked as outdated. The silence after she left wasn't empty. It was loaded. Claire broke it, not with dignity but with volume. I don't care what kind of vet your husband was. This was supposed to be our house. I made it better. You lived here like a relic. I gave it life. The camera caught every word. Someone tried to shut it off. Too late. The internet doesn't sleep. By dinner, clips had gone viral. Woman screams at elderly MIL after losing claim to historic home. Live. Christmas Karen. House isn't yours if grandma's name is on the deed. Screenshots, commentary replays with dramatic music overlays. Claire's smile cracked into a meme. Nathan's silence was subtitled and dissected. I sat in the mudroom again that night. Not out of exile, but habit. Daisy snored gently by my feet. The heater hummed. My phone buzzed with messages. Former students. Old colleagues. Even the librarian who once helped Marcus catalog his letters from overseas. They had seen. They remembered. Nathan came to the door quietly, no cameras this time. Mom, he said. I don't know what to say. You already did, I replied. You called me forgetful. You planned to take guardianship. You tried to sell the floorboards I paid for. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. We messed up. I messed up. I know. Claire didn't speak to me again that night. She retreated into the bedroom, her phone dark, social media accounts wiped clean by morning. The fallout came fast. Claire lost her sponsorships. No more seasonal decor brand deals, no more affiliate links to Urban Fuse dish soap or ethically sourced wreaths. Her apology video was downvoted into oblivion. The comments were merciless. She threw grandma in the mudroom and cried when karma rang the doorbell. Keep your cookies. You lost your character. Nathan's job issued a statement 2 days later. His role required trust, transparency, family values. The board felt it was best he step away indefinitely. He called it a witch hunt. I called it consequence. But the deeper blow came from the bank. My lawyer had preemptively flagged the trust to the financial institution holding their loan. Once the legal documents were in place, the mortgage became an immediate issue. Without my name, their collateral disappeared. They weren't just shamed. They were underwater. They tried to appeal. Claire said I had manipulated them. Nathan called it a misunderstanding. The court reviewed the filings. Saw the paper trail. The whispers caught on camera. The clip of Claire saying, she won't even notice she's not in the room. That one hurt the most. The judge ruled against them. They had 30 days to vacate. No appeal. No delay. They asked if I could extend. Just until they found a place. Why? I asked. Nathan looked tired. Because we have nowhere else. You mean like you thought I had nowhere else? I said. He winced. Claire stood behind him, eyes hollow. This is petty. No, I said. This is clarity. You tried to make me a ghost in my own story. But the story remembered. They left on the 28th. Took only their clothes, a mirror, and Claire's gold mixing bowl. Everything else was mine, and had been all along. The house didn't creak as much after they left. I noticed that. The tension went with them. The rooms breathed again. The windows opened without sticking. I put my quilt back on the armchair. I rehung Marcus's flag. The kitchen smelled like fresh scones again. The internet didn't forget, though. People began reaching out, not just to scold them, but to thank me. For staying silent until it mattered. For using law, not screaming. For showing that legacy isn't what you inherit, it's what you protect. 3 months passed. The Whitmore house no longer echoed with the tap of heels or the shallow laughter of curated guests. Instead, it pulsed with something warmer, softer, real. The mudroom became a reading nook. I painted the walls a soft sage green, left the window open more often, planted lavender outside to soften the air. Daisy still napped on her towel, only now it was flannel and fresh, and placed beside a basket of toys for neighborhood children. The house had a new rhythm. We filed the final transformation papers in early March. The Whitmore home, once stripped of its soul by Claire's aesthetic, was now the Whitmore Legacy Center. A space for students, veterans, and caretakers to gather, read, share, learn. Rebecca, my lawyer and one student, helped establish the bylaws. Free entry story circles on Wednesdays, legal literacy workshops twice a month. We started small, flyers on church bulletins, posts in community forums. Then one day the doorbell rang. A girl, maybe 10, freckles scattered across her nose, stood on the porch holding a wrinkled drawing. This is for you, she said shyly. It was a picture of a house with big windows, a sun with smiling eyes, and 2 stick figures. One with white hair, the other with a tail. You and your dog, she explained. Mom says this place is like a hug. We started a new program soon after. Letters from the quiet. A clothesline in the backyard stretched between 2 apple trees. People came and clipped notes, things they never said out loud. Things they waited too long to say. One read, Dad, I didn't know how hard you worked until I lost my job. Thank you. Another, Grandma, I see you now. I'm sorry it took me so long. By summer, the line drooped with weight. Not just from paper, but from the courage it took to admit regret. And then one Tuesday afternoon, Nathan came back. No cameras. No Claire. He stood at the edge of the front garden unsure. I was inside, sorting old lesson plans. When I saw him through the window, I hesitated, then opened the door. I'm not here to fix anything, he said. I know I broke it. I nodded. He stepped inside. He walked through the halls slowly, his fingers brushing the door frames. He paused at the photo wall, the one Claire took down. Now restored, every frame held the true story. My wedding day, Marcus in uniform, Nathan's preschool graduation, me in front of a classroom with chalk dust on my sweater. I forgot, he whispered. I forgot all of this. No, I said. You chose not to remember. But forgetting isn't the same as unlearning. He looked down, then up. Can I help? I handed him a box of letters. Start here. He sat under the apple tree and read every one. He returned the next day. And the next. Eventually, he spoke during one of the story circles. Not as my son, but as a man learning how to apologize in actions, not words. He now helps with upkeep, coordinates donation drives, and teaches a monthly seminar called Legacy is a Verb. We don't talk much about Claire. She left quietly, a trail of deleted accounts and ghosted friends. Sometimes, silence is the only record needed. One afternoon, a teenage boy asked Nathan, "Do you think people really change?" He looked at me first, then back at the boy. Only if they remember what they forgot, and mean it. And I knew then he was becoming someone new. Not for me. For himself. The garden out back blooms now. Native Oregon blooms that don't scream for attention, but survive winter anyway. Children visit every weekend. They bake. Read. Ask questions. Sometimes they cry. Sometimes I do too. One girl, maybe 12, tugged on my arm. Ms. Whitmore, are you famous? No, sweetheart, I said. Just remembered. The day of the full dedication, we placed a bench under the apple trees. Carved into the wood. Preserved by silence. Reclaimed by story. I sat there quietly as people clapped, some crying, some reading aloud the letters they clipped. Not because it was a victory, but because it was a homecoming. So to those listening now, if you've been made to feel small, erased, edited out of your own life, I see you. If you've held on to memory like it's the only weapon you had, I honor you. And if you think your story is over, let this be your reminder. It's not. Sometimes, the quietest chapters come right before the most unforgettable ones. And that was my story. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted the truth to live longer than silence. If this story touched your heart, made you pause, or reminded you of someone who deserved better, don't let it vanish into the scroll. Subscribe to Grandma's True Stories for more true stories from quiet voices that refuse to stay forgotten. Because wisdom doesn't shout, it remembers. And when a grandma speaks, the world finally listens. Thank you for watching. Stay kind, stay brave, and never underestimate the quietest woman in the room.